Welcome to the Oblivion Bar Podcast with your host, Chris Hacker and Aaron Knowles.
So Godzilla's movements and mannerisms, namely the scene where he's sleeping curled up inside the Roman Colosseum, were based on director Adam Wingard's cat, Mischief.
As we said, yeah. That's pretty obvious.
Pie. Yeah. For Trapper's appearance, Adam Wingard wanted him to have the 80s action figure feel. Nailed it, and was based on the G.I. Joe character Chuckles. That was... No notes. He fucking nailed it. It was just like the fun character. Like, I want to be best friends. I want to be on his staff.
I was getting Han Solo vibes too. Like, just kind of like too cool for school kind of guy.
Yeah,
you know?
Scruffy nerf herder. The image used for the blueprints of the Beast glove is the arm of the Pacific Rim Jaeger Gypsy Danger. B stands for Bioenhanced Anatomic, which is not anatomic seismic thunder, which is so badass. I love the connection there.
Yep.
Because, like, again, portals, Titans, like, it's such a cool,
obvious influence. Yeah.
It's such an obvious influence. Yeah.
Absolutely.
While Shimo's exact age is unknown, she has been referred to some as the first Titan, indicating her to be older than any of the other Titans.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, Chris, I'll hand them over. I just want to cover this one. In Scar King's throne room, several female apes holding red or orange furred infants can be seen. This strongly implies that he reproduced with these females and that Tsuko is probably one of his many children. Yeah, he was like, again, like that very human, I don't think, because he knows that he needs to, like, I don't know. He's such a
humans are like
an asshole.
Humans are opportunistic creatures. We're often we're at the top of the food chain, and that didn't happen by accident. We made that happen. Like, we were born into this world as the lowest, and we became what we are now, talking about Batman and King Kong on this podcast. Like, we've done it. We've peaked in the food chain. So
now we're just going down.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're going backwards. Scar King is exactly that. He is opportunistic. He is conniving. He is power hungry. All the things. Like, he represents the worst in humanity, I think. And of course, King Kong represents the best. He is selfless, and he has valor, and he he wants to be around loved ones, right? And he has a tooth that's made out of carbon fiber. So that's cool, you know?
That Scar King laughed at.
Yeah, he pointed out, I was like, hey, look at this nerd. Look at this nerd.
Human tooth. You needed a human tooth, you fucking nerd.
Where's your glasses at, nerd? You got braces. What a nerd. All right. The gator snake serpent that Kong fights in the lake is a callback to the first planned villain of Kong Skull Island, which was going to be a huge serpent that lived in the water before it was replaced by the skull crawlers. I think that was a good choice. I like the skull crawlers in that film. For the color visuals, Adam Wingard revealed, whenever I was talking to the visual artist, what I told them was, I want the color palette of this film to resemble the experience you get when you walk down a toy alley in the 1980s, when there were Thundercats and G.I. Joe and Transformers, which
nailed it.
The fight between Kong and Scar King in the trailer was inspired by a fight scene in the film Emperor of the North from 1973, where the characters A-1 and Shaq fight with a fire axe and chains. Aaron, are you familiar with this film, Emperor of the North?
No, but I also heard that another influence was the fight scene between Roddy Piper and what's his name? From They Live.
I know the fight you're talking about is when they're like on top of the car, and
it's like 20 minutes, like a 20-minute fight of just them beating the shit out of each other for no fucking reason, like no outcome. Yeah. I think that's the Kong, like when they first get together, like that's the Kong Godzilla fight influenced that one. It's not Louis Gossett Jr., is it?
I don't know. I that's a good question. I have no idea.
I'm gonna look it up.
All right,
go ahead.
Look it up.
Yeah.
I'll do the last one here. The New Empire holds the record for the most Titans to appear in a MonsterVerse film outside of stock footage, with at least 9. So there are 9 Titans in this film. So that's Keith David. Oh, of course. Yeah, Keith David. Duh. All right. That'll do it for our coverage. Godzilla, Kong, The New Empire. Aaron, let's go ahead and give our final thoughts. Final thoughts on the 5th installment in the MonsterVerse.
Final thoughts are, it was super fun. It was exactly what we wanted. And, this is one that I will definitely buy a steelbook for.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
Steelbook worthy.
I had so much fun with this movie. I want more of this. Like I said, it's supplanted the Fast and Furious series as my favorite brain candy, franchise going forward. I love this. I love everything about this. Obviously, there are some glaring issues. There are pacing issues. The human characters don't matter. There are things, right? But
Yeah.
the important thing is that they nailed the things they needed to nail, and it was a ton of fun. And to be hypercritical of a film like this would be silly. So
Exactly.
let's go ahead and rate this thing out of 5 David A. Weiners. Of course, David A. Weiners, our favorite documentarian, writer, director, A Search of Tomorrow and Search of Darkness. We've had on the show many times. Aaron, if you don't mind,
David A. Weiners.
we need like a water chime ting at the end of that. Can I give my rating first? Because I always give mine second, just so I'm not influencing you. I'm going to give, because I feel like my rating is maybe a hot take. I'm going to give Godzilla Kong, The New Empire 4 David A. Weiners. I really like this movie.
Again, we are of the same mind, but like always 0.5 apart. I'm going to give it a 3.5.
Sure. Okay.
And that's, I loved it. I really did, but I can't say it was like amazing. I can't say it was like Godzilla -1 level. You know what I mean?
Well, that's tough. That's going to be tough. This is not at all the same.
It's not an art house Godzilla. I get it. But like, I got to base it off of what I love and the things that I enjoyed. And again, maybe I'll revisit it again, like when I can, to see it again and maybe give it a 4 also. I really enjoyed it. It could have also been like the mood that I was in, because when I got there, I was a little disappointed in the theater's activities. I was disappointed they didn't have the merchandise, because I wanted some merchandise, like all that stuff. So it could have been that. I'll revisit it, but I think right now I'm giving it a 3.5.
Sure. Alrighty. Where's it at in your Monsterverse? Can you, off the top of your head, can you think about where it lies in terms of all of those films? So again, we have Godzilla, we have Godzilla King of the Monsters, we have Kong Skull Island, we have Godzilla versus Kong, and then this. You
know what? I'm going to leave the people hanging.
Okay.
And I'm going to say check our social media, because you know what I'm going to do once this show is over today? I will create a letterbox list.
Okay.
And we'll post that on our socials. So yeah, I think I'll leave them hanging for that, and I'll put up a list.
Okay, I think I don't have it listed here, but I'm just gonna say off the top of the head. I'm gonna say
off the dome.
I've got Godzilla at number 1. Still, I think the best version of whatever this is. Like, it's funny because it is very grounded, and this is super silly because it's number 2. Godzilla at Kong, The New Empire is number 2 for me. Then I would say Godzilla King of the Monsters is number 3. Kong Skull Island is number 4, and then Godzilla versus Kong is number 5. However, I should just say broadly, I like all of these films. Like, none of them are bad. I just had to put them in a certain order.
It's hard to put a top 5 when there's only 5.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. All right, Aaron, let's go and get into our next review here. We've got Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Again, spoilers ahead for this film. This is the 4th installment,
5th.
I guess. Well,
okay.
I don't think it's the 5th because 1 doesn't really count. We don't look at it. Don't look at it, Aaron. Stop looking at it.
But Mom, don't look at it, honey.
It's looking me in my eyes, so no.
I mean, it technically is the 5th Ghostbusters film.
We're talking about the female-led Ghostbusters, everybody.
2016's Ghostbusters Answer the Call with, yes, it is a female team, but that has nothing to do with why this movie is fucking horrible. So.
All right, well, let's spoilers ahead for everybody.
Spoilers.
Initial thoughts on Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
I had a great time with this. I had a great.
And tell people how you saw it. Also, we should talk about that.
Okay, so I saw it twice actually already. The first time I saw.
Before everybody else could see it.
Before everybody else. The first time I saw it was a screening at a Regal and I went to that one, got invited by, like Sony. So that was really fun. It was a bunch of a bunch of podcasters. There was a bunch of article writers, influencers, things like that. And then the second time I saw it, I went and saw it with the New York City Ghostbusters, which I'm now a recruit for. I'm in my probation phase. I'm in my probie phase. And so getting to see it with like 50 other plus Ghostbusters in costume, proton packs, all that stuff was amazing. And it was this whole like Regal event thing at the the Ewok theater
not the
in
bears
New York.
From
not the little bears from Star Wars, from Endor. Not from Endor. Chewbacca is not from Endor. So yeah, it was, but that was really fun to get to see it. But that, I'll say this, that was in a 4DX theater, which I will never go back to.
Okay, I was gonna ask, so what did they make it cold in the room? Did they spritz you with some?
It's basically like a roller coaster. Like all the seats move. Like, it's jarring. It is so. I could not focus on the movie.
Yeah, what movie would you even want to see in that setting? I don't even know.
Fast and Furious.
Maybe Fast and Furious. Maybe like an Avatar, perhaps. I don't know. No, not even that.
Just
I don't know.
like
That sounds like a night.
Really nothing. It was horrible. Like they sprayed you, they puffed air in your face, they made it cold, they made it hot. Like it was the most jarring experience, and I never want to see a movie in that again.
That sounds like my nightmare. Honestly, I don't ever want to do that.
It was like stimulation overload.
Oh, sure. Okay. All right. Well, my initial thoughts on this film, Aaron, and I hate to disappoint you, I did not like this movie at all. I thought this movie was pretty bad, honestly.
It's pretty polarizing.
It's just, I don't know what this is. Like, what is Ghostbusters anymore? I think there's a lot of questions we can ask, and I can kind of elaborate on why.
Well, let's chat about it.
Should we?
Maybe I can talk to you about it. Maybe I can help you.
I would love that, honestly.
Okay.
Because the Ghostbusters to me was 4 grimy guys get together and bust some ghosts. They don't have great equipment. They're kind of down on their luck. They just are New York's last defense in this sort of defeated New York's early 80s defeated New York. And there's nothing glowy or shiny about it. It's just that, right? And it seems like, and there's some caveats to this, I think, that what it seems like the Ghostbusters has become is high quality family fun that everyone and grandma can enjoy. You know what I mean?
Can I say something?
Absolutely, please.
If you've ever watched the first Ghostbusters, which plenty of us have, if the Ghostbusters had never done anything, there would be no issue.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, Dan Aykroyd gets blown by a ghost in that movie, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, if the Ghostbusters had never formed, there would be no issue.
That's like the age-old superhero challenge, right? Like,
power
incites power. So people will always challenge you because they want to defeat whoever's on top.
But I'm saying this, like, if you watch the original movie, the only reason the ghost, like the entire culmination climax of that film occurs is because Walter Peck goes into the Ghostbusters facility and fucks up the storage unit.
Yeah.
Had there never been a storage unit, no sign, no keymaster thing, like there would have been, I mean, there would have been but like it would not have given them the sign, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So like I feel like without,
I was gonna say, you make the argument for this movie too. Like McKenna Grace, her character Phoebe, this whole film is basically on her back. Well, also Kumail Nanjiani's character as well, where he brings in the orb and like it is. You're absolutely right. A lot of the issues, Garza, the reason why he's released is because Dan Aykroyd, his character, like it's trickling effects. But my whole point, I need to like finish this, is that like this film, it felt like broken up scenes around the old cast. And I think that like, I'm conflicted here, Aaron, because on one hand, of course, it's cool to see Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, everybody back in this film and back in the Ghostbuster suits. But I think this was the first time that I got like kind of tired of it. I'm like, can we just move on to the new Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's glaring.
Yeah. You're feeling what a lot of people are feeling. Yeah. And they're feeling that this movie is relying too heavily on nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
Like
100%.
You're feeling like, again, there's a very polarizing sense of this film. You have a lot of people who are like, this is great. I love it. Great to see the new cast, the old cast. To me, this is like when we described Dune 2, one of the things you described was kind of like the new school, like kind of like sending off like the old guard.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I feel like this is, because what we're seeing in this film, and I'm going to go over the summary in a second, pardon the pun, but a spiritual send off for the older team. Like this was like a last hurrah for them.
Couldn't we have done that in Afterlife? Like, didn't we do that actually with like even the ghost of Egon helping?
Yes and no, but you have to have that transition point, and that's what this movie is.
I thought that would have been perfect, honestly. I think that would have been great.
But you still, okay.
We would have went in straight to this film with them taking over the firehouse, and then bam, McKenna Grace and co are helping out. And I think that this film suffers greatly because they keep and McKenna Grace actually comments on this later on in the notes, but like they could have just continued the legacy with Kumail Nanjiani joining the team and all, like even like Dan Aykroyd in the background. I would have been fine with that, but like bringing in Bill Murray and even like Winston, what's his name? Zeddemore, yeah. Even Winston Zeddemore, I know I'm like calling some by their cast name and some by their actual actor name, but like, yeah, it just, I don't know. Ernie Hudson, thank you. I don't know. I just didn't. Is this what you want, Aaron? Like, as a true Ghostbusters fan, this type of thing where it's like very family friendly driven, we're bringing back the old cast for every entry, like kind of, again, glossy, kind of New York. And is this what you want?
I don't know what I want as a Ghostbuster because I need the studios to show me and tell me what I want to see, because we're in unknown territory with this. And let me go over the summary. Let me kind of like give you a breakdown of like what I would have wanted to see.
Sure. Okay.
So the summary of this film is the Spengler family returns to the iconic New York City firehouse where the original Ghostbusters first set up shop back in 1984, when the discovery of an ancient artifact unleashes an evil force, Garaka, who's basically a demon god. Ghostbusters, new and old, must unite to protect their home and save the city from a second ice age. So here are the important things that we had to hit in this film. So we had to bring the new team into the firehouse, get them established with a new like set of like new gear, like outfit them, and then get them to work. In order to do that, you have to bring in like the old school team, but at the same time, I do see what you're saying, and I would have liked more like taking more of a back seat rather than them being really relied upon so much. Yeah. You know, like have, you know, Ray and have all these guys, like have them be like retired, but like still kind of like around the shop, like be in the shop. But Winston should be really the only one who's calling the shots because he's the one financing now. He did so well in the financial district that he is now financing the entire Ghostbusters operation. He's the one who's paying for all the R&D. He's paying for all the training. He's paying for all the new equipment. You got Janine, who's kind of like still doing her administrative stuff behind the scenes. True. Like, why is Bill Murray there? Bill Murray is only there because they needed to.
It would be weird if Peter wasn't there.
It would be weird if he wasn't there. Out of all of them, Bill Murray has been the one who is very stoically and very like said many times, "I'm done."
Yeah, but he keeps coming back.
I
would have been fine if they would have just brought him in for that one scene with Kumail Nanjiani's character with the fire master, like where he's basically doing the same thing he did in the first movie. Like if he had just come back for that and maybe just like you said, been around to help in the background in the finale, like in the third act, I would have been totally fine with that. But putting them in the suits again is where I kind of draw the line in terms of my believability.
We're now approaching really my only main issue with this movie was the fact of how easy it was for them to capture Garaka at the end of the day.
Pretty weak villain.
This whole movie led up to this like demon god who's about to destroy Earth and like cause a new ice age and all this stuff. And then the culminating fight was really maybe 10 minutes of this entire film. And honestly, if anything, it really shows how, pardon the use, impotent the older team was when it came to how much of an effect they had on fighting these. Because really the only reason that they were able to capture him was because of the new team. Capture Garaka was because of the new team, and because of the involvement of the older team, it really brought more issues than it was necessary. So I think if anything, like I said, this is like a spiritual kind of like goodbye. Like we don't really need the old school Ghostbusters anymore, at least out in gear to accomplish the mission.
Yeah, I just the humor didn't work for me either. A lot of the only funny parts in this movie were Kumail Nanjiani, parts of Bill Murray, and Patton Oswalt, good friend of the show. You know, like those guys really, on any other joke that was said in this film, I did not even chuckle at, which was kind of a bummer. But we'll talk about it more as we go along. So Frozen Empire was released 40 years after the first film. It was also released in time for the 100th anniversary of Columbia Pictures, which I don't know if you saw that, Aaron, but the kind of rotating images of the lady there in the beginning, and then the 10th anniversary of Harold Ramis's passing. So this was originally scheduled to be released on December 20th. I said earlier November, I actually meant December 20th of last year, but due to the SAG-AFTRA WGA strikes, it was delayed until March 29th. And despite the heavy influence of the animated series, Aaron, which I know you're a big fan of, in this film, the real Ghostbusters story editor and comic book writer J. Michael Straczynski revealed that he was never consulted by the filmmakers of this film. Straczynski didn't even find out that this was an influence for the film until Empire magazine broke out the news in the fall of 2023. So wouldn't it have been a good idea to get Straczynski involved? The guy who basically created and was the showrunner of the animated series?
I mean, I don't. It's again, this is a departure, because if you look at, again, I'm just gonna say this one. I haven't really said this part. The original films were where the original, like the real Ghostbusters cartoon came from. This is even a departure from the first two films, and even the cartoon, like this is a departure, because if you look at it, yeah, like you said earlier, this is about 4 grimy dudes who are on a team. No, they're not really grimy, but like this is now becoming more of a family film, like a family franchise.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. It's divulging into rated G instead of PG-13. We get someone gets called Dickless in this movie at one point. That's about it, really.
That was the funniest part, like in my part of the
Tall,
movie,
dark, and horny.
No, it was unnecessary. The fact that they put that on a shirt was ridiculous, but
yeah,
I love, like, hey, like you should be thanking them, Dickless. That was the funniest part of the fucking movie. But yeah, anyways, I feel like this is going in a direction that is making what Ghostbusters could have been, which is more of a family-friendly, like approachable franchise, which I'm not bad about, because it's not like it's a kids movie. It's not a kids movie. It's an adolescent film. It's a film where older kids and younger adults and older adults can all enjoy it. That's why I like it.
Yeah, but I think if you alienate the older crowd with a movie like this, then it doesn't become all ages. It becomes strictly a kids film. You see what I'm saying? Like, the Ghostbusters films are fun for all ages because adults and children can enjoy it. You've got the kind of a highbrow, hilarious form of comedy with the members of.
I would never really argue that Ghostbusters was for children.
Oh, 100%. I don't think it is either, but I think they can enjoy it.
They can. I think they can enjoy this.
My point is that they made this film for kids. There's no way that this was made for people like us. This film was not like, well, let me say this. I think that they had us in mind because they obviously included the old Ghostbusters. Yeah. Like, they wanted to do certain things for the older audience, but I think it just felt very half-baked. And the actual content in the film, like, that's where it stopped. That's where the buck stopped. Was
I disagree.
Let's bring in the old guys. That'll appease the older audience, and let's make it more kind of, again, glossy and sort of PG or rated G for like the actual content of the film.
You're almost arguing like some of these people who are like, "Oh, this film's woke."
This ain't your daddy's Ghostbusters.
This ain't your daddy's Ghostbusters. This is woke. This is woke Ghostbusters. This is woke Busters.
Phoebe is in love with a gay ghost. What the hell?
Yeah, Spanglers aren't gay.
My Spangler ain't gay. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, like, e-brake, the Ecto-1 e-brake into the other direction is glaring, and I don't like it. I'm okay for making things more accessible for all audiences, but you have to put the effort in for the older audience more so than the younger audience, because the younger audience is going to be into this regardless, I think. Like, if you're marketing it correctly.
My one real big gripe, and it's not even a big gripe, and I've been getting a little bit of hate for this feeling on it, is there's the first ghost chase. They're chasing the Manhattan sewer dragon,
the Hell's Kitchen
sewer dragon.
Yeah.
Through the streets, and Phoebe like ejects into the I forget what the seat. The seat, yeah, but it's called something else. But
it's like a gunnery seat.
Yeah, the gunner seat. So she like sits on that, but and then at one point the mom like puts on the goggles and like starts using like an FPV, like a first person view drone, to capture this dragon. And in my opinion, that's the stupidest thing of this movie.
Why was she in the goggles, and why was Phoebe?
They should have reversed that. I feel like if anything, the mom over time would have gotten better at catching ghosts, and she would have been the one in the gunner seat, and then Phoebe would have been the one flying the drone.
Yeah, but then you couldn't have the subplot of Phoebe being a young girl and she shouldn't be on the Ghostbusters.
Exactly.
That's where that comes from. And again, it's half-baked. It's that you have a story element that you think makes sense because you have another story element down the road, but it destroys a character's what a character would do generally, right?
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, absolutely, but it would destroy other elements of the movie. That I would say that the main crux or the main pillar of Phoebe's arc in this is that she's a young girl. She shouldn't be busting ghosts this early in her life. And everyone's trying to stop her, right? And then at the end, she shows that she can do it because her partner ghost person helped her. Anyway. All right, let's keep moving along here. So the box office for this, as of April 4th, Frozen Empire has grossed $77.1 million domestically and $35.1 million in other territories.
On a budget of $100 million.
So relatively cheap-ish. Like, it's made a worldwide total of 112, so it's made its budget back. But of course, Aaron, as we know, you got to double it plus more to earn a profit, any profit at all, because of marketing and whatnot. So Frozen Empire debuted at $45 million in its opening weekend, landing between Ghostbusters from 2016, everyone's favorite Ghostbusters, at $46 million in 2016, to Ghostbusters Afterlife at $44 million in 2021. Topping the box office in this first week and pushing the Ghostbusters franchise to 1 billion total across all entries. So it was in number 1 for 1 week, and then the next week, Godzilla, Kong, The New Empire came out and supplanted it. So
and the Empire's stroke back.
And the Empire struck back, as we've said,
Stroke
everyone.
Back. Stroke
back.
Struck back.
Stroke-it back.
Stroke back mountain. The director is Gil Keenan from 2006's Monster House. So interesting with starting off with a horror film. City of Ember, which I don't know if you've seen City of Ember. I love that movie.
I have not seen it. No.
So it came out around the same time. I want to say like when a lot of books were coming out, like what's that one? The Mockingjay, the Hunger
young
Games?
Adults things.
Yeah,
like that.
young adults. So it's very fun book, very fun movie. I really enjoyed it. Poltergeist 2015, and I never saw this, but A Boy Called Christmas.
That was a Netflix movie. Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't it funny that both these directors, Gil Keenan and Adam Wingard, both started off earlier in their career making remakes of classic horror films and them not being well received?
Yeah.
Also, Monster House was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, but it lost to Happy Feet. So, and then Keenan co-wrote 2021's Ghostbusters Afterlife with Jason Reitman. Aaron, if you remember, we talked about Afterlife here on the show.
Yes, this sounds familiar.
And we liked it. I really liked Afterlife. I was really excited about where the franchise was kind of rebooting into the next era.
Obviously not anymore.
Not anymore, everybody. Aaron, remember that number I said earlier about the runtime for New Empire?
I believe it was 1 hour and 55 minutes.
Interesting, because this movie is also 1 hour and 55 minutes. Goodness. Remember I said earlier that there's a lot of connections with these two films. Of course, their original, Godzilla versus Kong, Ghostbusters Afterlife, both came out in 2021. Both were relative successes. Both are legacy sequels for already established characters and or franchises, and both came out this year and essentially in the same time, and both are 1 hour and 55 minutes. And just one is just way better than the other, if I'm being honest.
Well, let's go over the cast. McKenna Grace as Phoebe Spangler, Paul Rudd as Gary Gruberson.
Good to see Gruberson back.
Yep. Carrie Coon as
back.
Callie Spangler. Finn Wolfhard as Trevor Spangler. Kumal Nanjiani as Nadim Razmati. Good friend of the pod, Patton Oswalt as Dr. Hubert Wartsky. Madam Web's own Celeste O'Connor as Lucky Domingo.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Murray as Peter Venkman. Dan Aykroyd as Dr. Raymond Ray Stantz. Ernie Hudson as Winston Zeddemore. Annie Potts as Janine Melnitz. William Atherton as Mayor Walter Dickless Peck. Logan Kim as Podcast. Emily Allen Lind as Melody.
Another similarity, both movies have a podcaster in it.
Yes. And I know like a lot of people were like, for some reason, Podcast is like a favorite character.
I love Podcast.
Everybody.
Yeah, he's great.
So, but I feel like his part was a little too small in this one.
Yeah, but I would say like they definitely gave us a backseat to Finn Wolfman's Trevor. Obviously, Celeste O'Connor's Lucky was also given a little bit of a backseat in this movie, and then also Podcast. They're all just like characters that were in the previous film that just didn't have as much to do in this film. Mm-hmm. I will say of this cast, and we're notorious about this. McKenna Grace, per usual, is incredible in this movie. I think I love her kind of headlining this franchise. I like her in everything that she does, but I think that her as Phoebe Spangler was without a doubt the most compelling part of this movie. And I, if anything else, I just wanted more of her. And, speaking of McKenna Grace, she actually, and I kind of referenced this earlier, she said it was somewhat difficult to work, alongside the surviving original cast members compared to Ghostbusters Afterlife, because in Afterlife, the original cast members just came in at the end and shot for 2 weeks for the climax. Cause again, they just kind of show up, right? Grace admitted that while it was fun working with them and hearing their stories, she felt a little intimidated and worried about screwing up in front of the guys who started this whole thing 40 years ago. So I can definitely see that being a real challenge for her.
One thing I love about McKenna Grace is like how much she loves playing Phoebe Spangler and being a Ghostbuster. Like if you follow her on any of her social media, her TikTok, anything like that, she has and will always be like a Ghostbusters fan. Mm-hmm. And it's so cute to see, like she even shows like her baby pictures, and not just that, but like Trevor Spangler from his time in Stranger Things, when if you know anything, like they dressed up as Ghostbusters for several Halloweens. It's just great to see that there's an affinity there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So of the cast members here, we just spoke on McKenna Grace being pretty good in this film. Is there another actor or another character that you kind of attached to that you were impressed with?
To be honest, like Kumail Nanjiani's character, not a whole lot, but definitely to a point where like I very much focused on what his addition to this film / universe could be.
Yeah.
One thing that I find really interesting is like this felt like a real desire to expand the universe more into the occult. And because if you watch the original films, obviously there's a little bit of psychokinesis, some telepathy, some psychic powers, but very much it's an undertone of the film. It's a very low piece of information that's kind of like just shoehorned in there, whereas this is a real power, and this could open up a lot of interesting things for this franchise going forward.
Yeah, 100%. I really liked Camille or Kamal.
I think Camille.
I really like Camille's character in this as well. Again, as I said a moment ago, Patton Oswalt in this film, he's in it for about 10 minutes, but he's hilarious.
Yes.
Both of those two and their kind of comedic relief in this film. Because again, if this is going to be sort of a, all ages, family friendly kind of Ghostbusters, I at least want it to be entertaining and funny. And I thought those two were really the two hallmarks of humor in this entire film. So John Rockman reprises his role from the original Ghostbusters as the library administrator. So if you remember in the first film, he's also, when I saw him, I was like, he's also in Jingle All the Way, which is a weird reference. He's one of the guys giving out a Turbo Man in the mall. So it's a funny one.
I don't know if you can tell me if this is in the fun facts or not, but I wanted to say, did you know that the lions in front of the library have names?
Yeah, they say it in the film, don't they?
Yep.
Yeah. What are it's Fortune and something else.
Patience and Fortitude.
Oh, Fortitude. That's right. Yeah.
Which my only issue, and I don't know if this is a glaring issue, but one of the lions is destroyed, and then at the end of the movie, it's right back there.
It's right back. I mean, it's the same thing with the Statue of Liberty from Ghostbusters 2, right? Like they just bring it back. They put it back. Let's see here. The first time Annie Potts, who plays Janine Melnitz, wears the Ghostbusters outfit is in this film. However, Janine did wear one in the animated series, The Real Ghostbusters.
I think hers is pink.
Ghostbusters, what do you want?
Yeah, so yeah, I love Janine in her pink outfit in The Real Ghostbusters from 1986. That it's one of those iconic looks that a lot of people are actually like, people are creating their own customized suits and proton packs, which I love. And I love seeing a good Janine Ghostbusters. I don't even want to call it a mashup because it's actual thing. But
right.
Let's move on. Let's talk about Tall, Dark, and Horny from this film.
Very, very underbaked villain, if I can say.
Oh my God.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Underused, underbaked, left in the oven not long enough, and then served way too cold.
That's right.
Yeah.
Pun.
So thousands of years ago, Garaka, or the Death Chill, was summoned to help an unnamed king conquer East and Central Asia. The king feared Garaka's power, and so once he had established his kingdom, he ripped off Garaka's horns, which were basically the main source of his power, which is kind of weird, but yeah, they're the source of his power. Crippled Garaka was extremely, he was extremely powerful with his horns. Obviously, without, he's not. And then he kind of got him caught in this brass Pokeball, by some fire masters. Yeah, I choose you, Garaka. I was gonna say Articuno.
There it is.
So Garaka was caught, and he by the fire masters, who are these they're like firebenders from Avatar.
Exactly that. Yes.
Yeah. So brass, as they talk about in the film, brass is a device that can help capture and control evil, and so that's why you see in the little closet the whole room is brass. There's and it's silent. It's also sound deadening or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's where Garaka remained. Garaka is considered a class 7 deity, which is amongst the strongest in Ghostbusters canon.
Are there any other 7 or class 7 that we meet in any of the Ghostbusters films? Is Gorza? Is that the name of the?
I want to see, let me look it up, because I want to see if Vigo is a class 7.
Yeah. I will say, just since I already said it a moment ago while you're looking that up, I just felt like this, you kind of mentioned it too, is that we get all this buildup for Garaka in this film, and then he shows up, they do a little, he freezes some folks, and then no one dies in this. It just all felt so underwhelming. I don't know. Maybe I was just turned off from it already, going into the final third act, but by the end of it, it just felt like Phoebe, through the power of love and with her friends around, she was able to defeat one of the strongest deities in the Ghostbusters canon.
So Gozer Vince, Clortho, and Zool are class 7.
Oh,
it looks like, but Vigo is not, because he's not a deity. He's just a human ghost. Like he's a big asshole.
Just a really creepy painting.
Yeah. Vigo.
Yeah. So I don't have anything else really to say about this film, Aaron, unless you have something that we can get into fun facts. But I didn't love it. I just didn't love it. I don't know. And maybe I'll watch it again and find something new to like about it. But this is just a wild departure from Afterlife, which I really enjoyed.
So let's go over the fun facts. I'll give my last kind of thoughts on the film.
Maybe you can sway me there. Sway me at the end.
I'll do my best, but I think you have. I'm not gonna lie. You have some very strong arguments for your reasoning, and I can see that.
Well, we talked about in the Godzilla Kong New Empire review that being hypercritical of films like this are silly. But I think if you're going to divulge into brain candy, there has to be some fun in it. And I just felt like this was a lot of like it honestly, this is the way I kind of felt about it in my head when I was watching. It was like, it felt like this was made like by committee. It felt like this was a conveyor belt Ghostbusters film to me. Like there's something missing. And I'm having a hard time really pinpointing what that is, but it just didn't speak to me in the same way.
It's the ending.
It could be.
They built up so much, and then they kind of just like
CGI fest.
It was also like, I mean, there was like, okay, like a little fucking tricycle was terrifying, but like it was like the whole buildup was so long, and from the beginning it built up, and then it just let you off like after this like 10-minute like battle. It was anticlimactic. I mean, that's really what this movie, it was anticlimactic, and it's like you didn't give us anything that fulfilled what we've gotten in previous Ghostbuster films. So,
I did like the ending though. The ending where they kind of reenact the ending of the first one, and everyone's kind of celebrating the team. That's all fun, and that's cool, but again, I think it all felt kind of like manipulative to like call that out after that kind of subpar third act. But anyway, let's get into some fun facts here, Aaron. So Frozen Empire is dedicated to the late Ivan Reitman, who was the original director of the first 2 films and passed away on February 12th, 2022, which I think they say at the end there, for Ivan, which is pretty cool. So when Gary says he picked out a movie for movie night, he holds up a VHS copy of Cannibal Girls from 1973. This is the second feature film directed by Ivan Reitman, who directed the first 2 Ghostbusters films, as I just said.
It's a family film.
It's true family fun. This is the first Ghostbusters film without the mention of Sigourney Weaver's character, Donna Barrett. Or is it Dana? Dana, yeah.
Dana, but she is actually mentioned on it. There's a sign in front of the library that has her name on it. She's doing like a symposium.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that. Okay, that's pretty cool. In the background of the new facility, the slime blowers used in the Ghostbusters 2 film can be seen. One of the engineers is spraying another, perhaps a test to see the effects of slime.
In the crowd scene at the end, there is a nod to the original Ghostbusters. This is my favorite. I said it earlier. There's a random voice says, "You should be thanking him. You like thanking him, dickless." And he's like saying that to Mayor Pack, who in the original film, Bill Murray's character says, "Yes, it is true, sir. This man has no penis." And then when investigating Nadine's flat, Lars is using a Bacharach sniffer. It's the same equipment that Peter Venkman is using in Dana's flat in Ghostbusters. Where it's very complex. Are you using that correct? I think so. Towards the end of the movie, after they beat Garaka and the big gust of wind blows on everyone, Phoebe's curly hair is sticking up, seems to be a tribute, if you will, of the way her grandfather Egon's hair always did in the original Ghostbusters movie. The scene in which Trevor attempts to catch Slimer are similar to a subplot that was filmed for Ghostbusters 2, but ended up being cut, which was them always like, it's always been like an ongoing thing of them trying to catch Slimer. It's just, yeah.
He's always around, but they just don't ever catch him.
Yeah. In that deleted subplot, which also took place inside the Ghostbusters HQ and was supposed to be a running gag in that film, Louis Tully tried to catch Slimer on several occasions, but failed. He also tries to bait him into a trap with food, something that Trevor does as well.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, Aaron, final thoughts on Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
I see the issues, and this is not a perfect film. I had fun with it, but there are a lot of choices they could have made differently that would have improved it.
Sure.
So I enjoyed it. I had a great time with it. I was smiling. I was laughing. I think for me, the glaring issue mostly is just the ending battle. It's anticlimactic.
Sure. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to harp on this too much. I just want it's just not my Ghostbusters film, I don't think. I like this one less than the 2016 version, honestly.
Holy shit.
I think this is my least favorite one.
Holy shit, that hurts my heart.
Yep. Did not
Wow.
like this even a little bit. This was like one of the very first times I've seen Paul Rudd in a film that I wasn't just completely smitten by him. And he had his moments, as he often does. But like in this film, I remember what I was saying earlier about how like there were parts where someone was telling a joke and just no one laughed. It was mostly from Paul Rudd's character, from Gary, right? Yeah. McKenna Grace is great. I hope she keeps headlining this series. I want her to continue on and be kind of the lead of this franchise going forward. I'm done with the old Ghostbusters being in these films. I love the first Ghostbusters. I notoriously don't like the second one, but I really love the first one. And, I think that they had their time, and they've said Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray have both said they want to be done with this franchise. So just be done with it. Like, it's clear that you're just showing up. Like, this film and the way it was cut made it look like these guys were on set for like a week and a half, maybe. There were certain parts of the movie where we just like cut into the old Ghostbusters out of nowhere for no reason. And I don't know. I want something new. I know what I want from the Ghostbusters is not this. I don't want whatever this is. So and personally, I would love for them to wait a couple years on Ghostbusters and bring it back in a couple years after they have some definitive good ideas. So yeah, sorry, Aaron, sorry to hurt your heart there, but didn't love this. So
wow.
But I'm glad you had a good time with it. I will say that. Yep.
I'm just going to give you my rating because I don't care what yours is. I mean, I want. No, I'm sorry. That's rude. I want to hear your rating. I want to hear your rating. I was hoping to give it more. I'm going to give it a 3. You know?
Yeah, that's fair. 3 is.
Let me guess. Is yours like a 1?
That's a 1.5 for me. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 1 is really, really bad. Like, that's almost irredeemable bad. There are some things that I like about this movie, and it's always fun to just watch a Ghostbusters film, but just the worst version of this possible. Like, this is just not my thing, everybody. And I don't want to keep talking about it. I'm done with it. I'm over it.
I'm over it.
That concludes our double feature Empire Strike Back reviews. So, Aaron, let's get into my favorite segment of the show, Aaron's Arcade.
It's time for Aaron's Arcade.
Whoa, welcome back to Aaron's Arcade. Aaron's Arcade is sponsored by G Fuel. Whether you're a casual gamer, a content creator, an everyday Joe, or an esports pro, G Fuel sugar-free, antioxidant, and vitamin-fortified focus enhancing and high-performance energy products will give you the edge you need to fuel your grind. How was that, Chris? That was very good. That was a good one. Yeah. While stocking up at see, I fucked it up there.
You messed it up now.
While stocking up at gfuel.com, use our code OBP at checkout for 10% off your entire order. That's OBP at checkout. Remember, it stacks. Mm-hmm. Okay? So this week, I am covering Tetris Connect. Now, you may be asking, Aaron, why Tetris Connect? Tetris Connect has been out for years. That's right. Tetris itself has been out for decades. I grew up playing Tetris, but you know what happens when you come out with a really great game and then you put it down and then somebody picks it up and then they put it down and they play it again. They realize there is so much more to it.
Is that your daddy's Tetris? This
is not your daddy's Tetris. And I just recently discovered that. So I am a huge fan of this little known thing about Aaron. He is an immense puzzler and he is a genius at Tetris.
He's also a genius.
A genius. Jean-Louis. I don't even know it's French, but anyways, so Tetris has always been like a passion of mine. I recently re-picked up Tetris Connect, which I've played on VR. Right now I'm currently playing it on my Steam Deck, which it's really good there. Great sound. Tetris Connect feels more like your original Tetris, but with like a beautiful kind of ambiance to it. Like there's a lot of background beauty to it. There's like some graphics. They change the pieces. Like everything kind of flows together. There's different modes. Like there's a zone battle mode, classic score mode, connected mode. Like all these different modes have different like there are like versus mode, but there's also like collaboration mode. One of my favorite is like this. There's like a mood mode. So if you're ever in like a mood, like you want to calm down or you want to relax, or if you're like in a hype mode, you can like choose the mode and you can play a different version of this game based on the mood that you're in. Mm-hmm. And it's so much fun. And I still don't know what it's called, but I've been playing this game I played it like a while ago and I picked it back up. Apparently there's like a button that you can press, like a trigger, and it like creates like it's almost, like some of these games have like a hyper mode, or like, you press the button. It's like you filled up your power bar and it's like power. I didn't know this, but there's apparently a mode like that in this game, and I never used it before. I just thought it was like, oh, you're doing really good. My bar's at max. I'm fucking killing it.
Yeah.
This like kicks it up to a whole new level. It like jumps your score up. There's like, modifier and multipliers. It's cool. I just figured out how to use that. I still don't know what it's called, but it's really fun. But yeah, if you ever like are a Tetris fan, you want to get into something that's kind of, again, very beautiful ambiance. The music behind the game is beautiful. It feels like almost like a what do you call it? Like one of those rhythmic games, but it's very beat inspired.
Like a
and
Beat
it's
Saber?
just no, I'm not. Well, yeah, like Beat Saber, like Guitar Hero. Those are all like rhythm games. This one has that feeling, but there's no impact of your pacing on it, on the actual music. But it's like the soundtrack is so gorgeous. I love it. And so I highly recommend it. Definitely pick it up if you're a fan of Tetris or puzzling games at all. If you ever want to kick back and relax and play something that's kind of like smooth and again, that cool ambiance, I highly recommend it. Again, Tetris Effect. I'm pretty sure it's on like every fucking platform that's out there. Even better if you try it in VR. It is the most immersive, beautiful experience. It's so great. And that's all I got to say for this week of Aaron's Arcade. Let's move on to my favorite part of the show, my favorite segment, which is Chris's Corner.
It's time for Chris's Corner.
Alrighty, Chris's Corner is sponsored by The Fantasy Shop. Since 1981, The Fantasy Shop has been the best place to find comic book, graphic novels, board games, role-playing games, and card games in the greater St. Louis area. Check them out at fantasyshoponline.com and make sure you stop in and say hello the next time you're in town. Next time you're in the Lou, as we call it there in St. Louis. This week, Aaron, we're going to talk about X-Men 97, the first 3 episodes. This is obviously the brand new revival of the X-Men, the animated series from 1992 to 1997 on Disney+, continuing where the series ended back then, back when Saban took it over and destroyed it. This new series depicts the X-Men facing dangerous challenges following the loss of their leader, Professor X. It basically picks up right after the death of Professor X, which I thought was really interesting. So, Aaron, have you watched any of X-Men 97 yet?
I was going to comment once you were finished.
Go ahead.
I watched 1 episode.
Thoughts?
I'm not, this might be a hot take, but I'm not that big of a fan.
All right. That's fair. I mean, I've been on record saying that the original X-Men animated series is pretty bad. Honestly, like it's got an amazing theme song and like it's obviously yeah, of course, like, and it was big for when we were young, but like trying going back and watching it now, it's not very good, everybody, just being honest. But I like this. I like this is getting a lot of hype for being like the best thing ever, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I think it is the best version of this. Like whatever X-Men the animated series can do, I think this is the best version of that. So Disney Plus actually revealed that the first episode, To Me, My X-Men, had 4 million views worldwide within the first 5 days of its release, which makes it the second most watched first season premiere for an animated series on the service, only behind, did I say first? Second most watched, only behind the first episode of Marvel Studios' What If. So I don't really have a ton to say because there's been 4 episodes total. I haven't seen the 4th episode, but the first 3 episodes I really liked. I think it's fun. You could show it to a young person; they probably could enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
It is, again, it's not incredible. It's good. It's just fun.
There's like cool factors in it. Like the first main fight where they like land in the Sahara Desert.
Mm-hmm.
And like Scott Summers, Cyclops uses his eye beam to like, stop his land. It's pretty badass. Like there's some pretty epic stuff, but it's also like very cheesy. Like there's that first scene, the first battle where Storm comes in and she's like, says something cheesy on her way in.
She's very like Shakespearean kind of in her speak.
So I'm just like, to me, like the voice acting doesn't feel natural as it doesn't feel as good as it did back when I was a kid. And maybe those are, the blinders on that I have from when I was a kid, those filters, but I don't know, like it doesn't jive as much as it did for me when I was a kid. And it's everything, it's from Gambits to, people are pissed off about him, like cooking in like a midriff cutoff shirt, cooking.
Is that your daddy's Gambit?
He's not your daddy's Gambit. Apparently there's some very like heavy homosexual undertones between Morph and Wolverine.
Oh,
like,
fuck yeah. That's what I want. I didn't hear that, but I want that. I want all of that.
Yeah.
I need to see whatever that relationship is.
Because apparently there's like a scene where Morph like comes into the shower. Where Logan is taking a shower.
Maybe Morph has a crush on Wolverine, perhaps.
But it seems mutual.
Well, I mean, that's okay, sure. I mean,
again,
did you find out? Did you hear about this? That Han Solo and Lando are lovers as well. Did you hear about this? It's like Jay Leno. You hear about this? You hear about this?
No.
Yeah. Apparently, that's why am I spacing his name? The guy who played Lando, Billy D. Williams was Lando.
Billy D. Williams. Yeah. It just seems weird to like toss these undertones into a revival of a show that we watched when we were knee high to a grasshopper, sitting on the carpet in front of the TV, munching our Fruity Pebbles on a Saturday morning. It's like,
what is up with us today? Why are we so anti-progression?
Nostalgia? I'm not. You are.
You're like, I'm okay with gay Wolverine. I'm cool with it.
I'm fine.
Listen to my voice. I'm fine. All right.
I love it.
I love it.
I'm eating that shit up.
There's a scene where Wolverine and Jean have a moment. So I think if nothing else, he could be bi, but doesn't matter. X-Men 97. It's fine. I like it. It's cool. Whatever. Maybe we'll talk about it on the show later. It's only been 3 episodes, but that'll do it for episode 151. Everyone, it's been 2 hours. All right, we're done. We're done.
I gotta pee so
the
bad.
tank is empty, everybody.
My tank's full.
Next week on the show for episode 152, we are going to be having one of the best comic book writers in the world, Jason Aaron, on the show to talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Berserker, Uncle Scrooge, Action Comics, all the things. As many people know, Jason Aaron's been on the show once before. And he also is the creator behind, I think, maybe my favorite run of all time with his Thor run, 7-year run on Thor. So very good conversation. Excited for everyone to check that out. Excited for everyone to eventually check out his TMNT first issue, TMNT Alpha number 1. I'm pretty sure is what that's Chris Burnham on art. So it's going to be exciting. But Aaron, that'll do it for episode 151. Please take us out of here.
Subscribe to our podcast. Subscribe to our podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Audible, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your podcast, that's where we are. Thank you to our patrons, Alex, Alice, Aaron, Botter from Shortbox, Cassidy, Chris from Bada Boom Pod, Chris J, Christy, David, Elliot, George, Greg from First Issue Club, Haley, Ham6, Jake from Spectales, Jake S, Jeremy, Kenny, Kyle, Losi, Mac, Miles, Mike, Robert, Sean, Travis, and Brad Lisa of Comic Book Couples Counseling. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads, @Oblivion Bar Pod. Thank you, Omnibus, for sponsoring the show. Check the link in our show notes. Upgrade how you read comics digitally. It's bitchin'. Official merch of the show can be found at our website, www.oblivionbarpodcast.com. Thank you, Kevin Siegler, for all of our Oblivion Bar art. He's at the Zig Zone on Instagram. Thank you, Dream Kid, for all of our musical themes. Thank you, DJ Skyvac, for our grid theme. Thank you, Fantasy Shop, for sponsoring the show. And last but not least, do not forget to tip your bartenders 20% or more, or you will probably not enjoy the tip they give you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to episode 151 of the Oblivion Bar podcast. We will see you next week for episode 152.